Revealed, the hidden and heartwarming final moments of Marie Antoinette that transformed history. Clara stirred awake to the sound of her children's soft breathing, the sun painting warm stripes across their faces. The bakery called to her like an old friend. It always had. Kneading dough at dawn was her favorite ritual, the scent of yeast and flour mingling with the vibrant notes of blooming wildflowers outside her window. But today felt different. Today felt heavy. Bills piled high on the kitchen table, a glaring reminder of her father's declining health, weighed down her heart. As she formed each loaf, she channeled her father's spirit, pouring every ounce of hope into the crusty golden sourdough that had fed this little Midwestern town for generations. Yet beyond the bakery's warm embrace, change loomed like the winter chill that crept into the very bones of her beloved town. Rumors whispered of a corporation's insatiable hunger to build a shopping complex, threatening to swallow up the small businesses that were the lifeblood of their community. Clara felt a dagger of worry twist in her gut. This wasn't just about her father's legacy, it was about the futures of her two children. This was a fight for survival, and her love for them surged in desperation. That evening, after locking the bakery's door against the encroaching dark, she sank into an old porch chair beside Gus, her elderly neighbor. His hands trembled slightly as he sipped coffee from a chipped mug, deep lines etched on his weathered face, the face of a man who had seen battle, had sacrificed much. He spoke of history, proudly recounting moments of bravery and loss, of the pains that could bring a town together like the aroma of fresh bread wafting through the streets. They caught each other's eyes, both burdened with dreams long deferred. Clara thought of Marie Antoinette, misunderstood yet steadfast. She too had faced the judgment of crowds. Before Clara could unpack her worries, a flyer landed with a soft thud on her porch. Her chest tightened as she unfolded the glossy paper, bold letters proclaiming the corporation's intentions to bring new life to their little town while simultaneously snuffing out its soul. Despair settled heavy on her shoulders. How could she let her father's dreams disappear into the abyss of corporate greed? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a fire igniting within her, Clara did what no one expected. Gathering the townspeople in her bakery, she laid bare the truth, the erosion of their dreams. As she stood before them, the wooden sign above the door creaked in the wind, a sentinel of all they had built together. She could see the glimmer of determination flicker in their eyes, a quiet rebellion, a collective spirit ready to rise. We can't let them take away what we know as home. She called out, her voice rising with fervor. Just as excitement buzzed like electricity among the crowd, a figure emerged from the shadows, an imposing representative of the corporation, confidence oozing from him like a slick oil. He offered them payouts, cash in exchange for their silence and consent. Clara's heart raced, and doubt crept in, battling fiercely with her resolve. Would they, the community she loved, accept this lifeline, or would they stand together to reclaim their history? As Clara stood on the precipice of this daunting moment, uncertainty flashed like lightning across her mind, but one thing was sure, she was ready to fight, ready to write a new chapter in their story, one that could stand up against the enormous tide looming just beyond their door. Would she be the voice that finally defied the silence? The answer hung in the air, waiting for her next bold step, her heartbeat steadying at the thought of the battles that lay ahead. Clara's voice lingered in the air, strong and unwavering, as the townspeople's eyes turned from her to the slick businessmen. She could feel the mounting tension crackle like static electricity. The man smirked, leaning against the doorframe, as though they were schoolchildren debating ownership of the playground. You can't be serious, Clara. We're offering you a chance, a lifeline, he said, dismissing the weight of their struggles with a wave of his hand. Is that what you call it? Clara shot back, her heart pounding in her chest. A lifeline or a chokehold? Selling our home for a handful of dollars while you rip out what makes us who we are. A murmur swept through the crowd, the sound of agreement growing like a wave crashing against a rocky shore. Clara felt emboldened, strengthened by the belief in their shared history, the stories, the laughter, the heartache that bound them together. It was a community built on more than just commerce, it was a patchwork of lives woven with love, struggle, and tenacity. Just then, Mary, a mother of 3 who owned the local diner, piped up. "What about our kids? What kind of future are we setting for them if we let this man take over?" Her voice trembled with emotion, but it was steady, echoing Clara's thoughts. "This is about more than just us. We owe it to them to fight." Clara's heart swelled at the sight of her neighbors rallying together, their faces set with resolve. The little bakery transformed, the walls resonating with hope, kindness, and the fight for justice. She thought of her own children and how the rich aroma of fresh bread every morning was more than a family tradition, it was a reminder that they were part of something bigger, something worth preserving. "Together, we can show them how we value our history," Clara said, feeding off the collective power of the room. "This isn't just a bakery. This is a legacy. And we're not just fighting for bread, we're fighting for our right to thrive here." Amidst the fervor, the corporation's representative adjusted his tie, irritation flickering across his face. "You really think you can stop progress?" he asked, half sneering. "Your quaint little bakery won't hold back a shopping mall." "Maybe not alone," Clara replied, stepping forward, the heat of her conviction ablaze in her belly. "But we are stronger together. We'll remind this town of who we are and what we stand for." The challenge echoed, daring each individual to reflect on their own courage. Eyes met, stories were shared in the silence, all complexities considered. Clara could see it, the resolve built on memories, laughter, and the wisdom passed down for generations. A plan was brewing, and excitement sparkled like fireflies in the darkening sky. Before long, Clara suggested the unthinkable, a rally, a show of unity in the very streets where they had all built their lives. There were nods of agreement, whispers of support, and Clara felt a swell of emotions: fear, hope, anticipation, each one nesting beside the other. "But what if it only angers them further?" Gus chimed in, his brow furrowing with worry. "We might anger them," Clara admitted, "but we'll also inspire hope. They won't know what hit them if we stand firm. If we stand together." As her words hung in the air, Clara's chest tightened with both fear and exhilaration. She knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning, and with every ounce of her being, she was prepared to fight. Little did she know, darkness was lurking, and forces could rise against her that would test their unity in unimaginable ways. Would they emerge from this battle intact? Or would their community, like so many before, fall to the pressures of change? The question loomed, heavy and inescapable, as they made plans under the twinkling stars. The night was alive with chatter and anticipation as the townspeople gathered outside Clara's bakery, their breath visible in the crisp evening air. Flickering streetlights glowed softly, casting warm halos that danced across anxious faces turned up toward her. Clara stood at the center, her heart racing as she scanned the crowd. Mothers, fathers, children, every single soul assembled, ready to lay everything on the line for their shared future. "We need to find our strengths," Clara began, looking each person in the eye, her voice steady but full of emotion. "Let's share our stories. Let us weave the rich fabric of who we are right here, tonight." The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, and she could feel the collective energy charging the air like static before a storm. It was a wave of resilience forming, pushing them closer together. She stepped closer to the nearest group, sensing their gaze locked on her with a mix of hope and trepidation. Mary took a step forward. "Remember the winter festival?" she prompted, her eyes brightening. "The way we lit up this whole place. The laughter, the joy, the way we were all together." Clara nodded, feeling the memories wrap around them like a comforting embrace. "Exactly. That spirit is still here. And this rally can be that spark again, an ember that ignites a fire of courage." Well, if we're doing this, we should make it big, Gus said, scratching his head nervously. Let us not just stand how we were. What if we bring out the music? The food? Let us show them we will not be silenced. That's the spirit. Clara exclaimed, invigorated. She could see the gears turning in their minds, their resolve starting to take shape. Let us organize our community, families, local businesses, even the school. We will create a gathering that showcases the heart of our town. With every word spoken, Clara could feel the unity building, pushing against the barriers they faced. Hands began to rise, volunteers eager to help spread the word, set up banners, create flyers. The bakery shifted from just being a physical space to a beacon of hope, where dreams and aspirations were now shared. Yet, just as optimism swelled, a shadow loomed. Clara felt a chill as she spotted the businessman watching from a distance. His eyes glinted with something dark, disdain, perhaps, or merely amusement. He wasn't ignoring them, he was there, waiting for them to slip up. Let us keep our heads high, Clara urged, seeing his presence unsettle some. We are not afraid of him. He is a stranger in our home. Are we going to let a stranger decide our fate? The rally's energy picked up as people shouted affirmations. A nervous buzz hung in the crowd, but Clara stood firm. They had awakened something powerful in one another. As the night deepened, arrangements were made, laughter mingled with determination, and her bakery became a hub of hope. But Clara knew they were still heading into a storm. The darkness that lingered in the businessman's gaze weighed heavily on her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the calm before something very tumultuous. As they finalized plans and set the date, Clara's heart swelled with pride, yet a tiny voice within whispered doubts. Was it enough? Would they stand tall against the storm that was sure to come? She caught her breath, the weight of the moment settling in her chest. Tomorrow we rally for our legacy, she said quietly, almost to herself. For in that moment, she understood the stakes were higher than just a bakery. It was about their spirit, their way of life, and soon, they would learn just how fiercely they would have to fight. But would they be ready when the tide truly turned? How far would they go to protect what they loved? As she glanced around at the faces filled with hope, she wondered if the fight ahead would bring them closer together or tear them apart completely. The sun broke through the early morning haze, casting golden rays across the streets of the small town as Clara prepared for the day ahead. Her bakery, now full of energy and purpose, echoed with the sounds of clinking bowls and the fragrant aroma of freshly baked goods. Yet, beneath the happy facade, Clara felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on her. Today wasn't just any day. It was a turning point. As she kneaded the dough, her mind wandered back to the tight-knit community that had banded together just hours before. The memories of laughter and shared stories filled her heart and gave her courage. Clara looked around the bakery, where familiar faces filtered in, neighbors and friends, all energized by the promise of the rally. She was grateful for their commitment, but the anxiety from the businessman's gaze lingered, a cloud she couldn't shake. Just then, Mary breezed in with a burst of laughter. I brought the banners, she announced, her arms full of bright fabric. Let us make this day unforgettable. Clara smiled brightly, feeling the warmth of community surrounding her. That's the spirit, Mary. Let us hang them up. As they worked side by side, tightening the banners above the entrance, Gus arrived with a box of homemade treats. Food is critical to any rally, he said with a cheeky grin. Can't have people rallying on an empty stomach. They need to feel good while they fight. A spark of excitement spread amongst them. Each small act of preparation grew into something larger than themselves. A band of voices rose in unison as more townsfolk joined in, weaving the day's success step by step. As the hours slipped away, Clara could feel the collective heartbeat of the community, strong like the rhythm of a drum. But the closer they got to the rally, the heavier her heart became. What if their hopes collided with the businessman's ambitions? What if today's courage crumbled at the first challenge? These questions loomed like storm clouds, casting shadows over her resolute heart. As the sun climbed higher, Clara gathered everyone in front of the bakery. She could see their determination, yet the uncertainty mirrored her own. "We're here for each other," she said, trying to instill reassurance. "No matter what happens, we are family. And that will prevail." Just then, she noticed the businessman approaching, his presence instantaneously dampening the spirit. Whispers swept through the crowd. Clara locked her gaze onto his. His expression was unreadable but oddly calm, as if he were about to deliver some news that would shake them to their core. "Ah, you've made quite the effort," he said, his voice slicing through the buzz of conversation. "But you really think this rally is going to change anything?" His confidence was unnerving, and she sensed fear ripple through the gathered crowd. Clara stepped forward, feeling her heart pound fiercely. "We're fighting for our home. For our future," she declared, her voice steady. "You may think this is just a gathering, but it's about our vision, our dreams. We won't back down. Not for you, not for anyone." A moment of silence followed, their eyes darting between her and him, the tension palpable in the crisp air. Then, Mary stepped up beside Clara, raising her voice. "And we will stand together. You'll see our strength, and you'll understand that we will not be broken." The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices melding into a powerful anthem of resistance. Clara's heart soared, filled with defiant hope. But the businessman merely smiled, the darkness in his eyes growing more prominent. As the gathering set forth into the streets, Clara couldn't help but feel that this confrontation was just the beginning. Would their unity be strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead? Could they hold on to their dreams, or would they be swept away like leaves in the wind? Today was more than just a rally. It was a moment of truth, and the stakes had never been higher. Clara's resolve shook but never broke. As they moved forward, she realized they were indeed heading into uncharted territory, where the outcome was unknown. How far would they dare to go for the love of their community, for each other, and for the legacy they were desperate to protect? As they marched through the town, the sound of their footsteps blended into a rhythmic chant, an echo of their shared hopes. Clara walked at the front, her heart a beacon of resolve as the energy around her pulsated with determination. Each face she scanned reflected steadfastness, friends, family, the entire tapestry of their community. She could feel the thrill of activism buzzing in the air, but the businessman's earlier taunt still loomed at the back of her mind, like an unwanted shadow. The streets lined with colorful banners fluttered in the warm breeze, vivid reminders of why they were there. "Save our bakery. Keep our town together," echoed against the storefronts as they pressed forward. Seasoned by time, the town felt as much a part of Clara as her very soul. But how would she face the challenge that awaited them? The stakes were impossibly high, and for a moment, doubt flickered like a candle in her chest. Suddenly, Clara spotted someone standing off to the side. It was Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who had always been like a second grandmother to her. Clara hurried over, concern creeping into her voice. "Are you okay, Mrs. Thompson? You should join us." With a gentle smile and a glint of wisdom sparkling in her eyes, Mrs. Thompson shook her head. "Oh dear Clara," she said softly, "this is a fight that your generation must lead. I've seen changes come and go, and it's the spark of youth that keeps the flame alive." Her words ignited something deep within Clara, standing there like a torch lighting a path forward. "Thank you," she murmured, invigorated by the trust placed upon her. She turned back toward her friends, who were buzzing with energy, and the realization hit her hard: this wasn't just about the bakery, it was about their legacy, their voice, their heart. As they approached the town square, Clara felt the weight of anticipation grow heavier. The businessman had set up a podium, flanked by his supporters, their faces taut with a sense of authority and dominance that clashed against the buoyancy of the townsfolk. His voice rang out, dripping with condescension. "Is this really all you can muster? A crowd of well-wishers? This isn't a fairy tale. It's time to face reality." Clara's heart raced, and she could feel the collective breath of the crowd hold, waiting for her to respond. This is not a fairy tale. This is our reality. We fight with our heart, and it's what makes us strong. Clara shouted back, her voice cutting through the air like an arrow. Her words slammed against the wall of cynicism with surprising force. In that moment, energy ricocheted through the crowd, sparking rallying cries that echoed off the buildings. Clara realized that this was their stand not just for the bakery, but for every small dream that dared to challenge the giants. Cheers erupted around her, igniting a fire that would burn through the doubt. But even as hope soared, uncertainty lingered. Clara turned to Mary, who stood wide-eyed, heart-thumping. What if he doesn't back down? What if he tries to crush us? With fierce determination, Mary replied, we won't give him the chance to break us. We are stronger than ever when we stand united. The words rang true, and Clara nodded, a renewed sense of purpose filling her. They were not here to plead, they were here to claim their future. As they began to chant again, the insistence of their voices stronger than ever, Clara felt an electric connection surge between them. It was a web of resilience, woven together by shared dreams and insatiable love for their community. But, even as they rallied against the winds of doubt, Clara sensed something lurking beneath it all. A moment of reckoning was approaching. As their voices rose, they saw the businessman locking eyes with Clara, and a chilling smile spread across his face. What was he planning? In that heartbeat, Clara realized that this fight was more than a rally, it was a battle for their very existence. Would they hold on through the storm, or would the darkness break their spirit? The next steps felt crucial. As she stood, heart hammering, she found herself wondering, how far would they go to protect their town, and what sacrifices might lie in wait? The crowd surged, their collective heartbeat synchronizing with Clara's racing pulse. As the businessman glared from the podium, a quiet fear trickled through her resolve. What if he unleashed something devastating? She could feel the anticipation hanging above them like a storm cloud, ready to burst. Look at them. His voice splintered through the air, cold and calculated. A bunch of dreamers holding on to nostalgia. This bakery? He gestured dismissively. It's a relic. Change is the only constant. Embrace it or get left behind. Clara felt the heat rise within her, but she had to focus. How can you claim to care for our town if you're willing to throw away its heart? She shot back, her voice ringing with confidence she didn't fully feel. Gasps and murmurs rose from the crowd. She sensed movement around her, friends inching closer, lending strength without words. The businessman squinted, measuring the crowd's resolve against his own. You think this community is worth saving? What legacy will you leave when the vast, unfettered market is demanding larger stores? There was a calculated cruelty in his smile as he continued. Some dreams are simply unrealistic. Clara could sense despair creeping in. It glimmered in the eyes of those around her. They felt the weight of their dreams against the harsh reality he portrayed. Taking a deep breath, she tapped into the memories that shaped her love for this place, the smell of freshly baked bread wafting down the street, laughter shared over cups of coffee in cozy nooks, the sound of children playing in the park. These feelings built her confidence. Mr. Colton. Clara raised her voice to silence the doubt. This isn't about the bakery. It's about community, connection, real roots. The love we pour into this town isn't measured in profits, it's measured in relationships. The cheers that erupted felt like wildfire. Echoes of yes rolled through her, igniting the spirits of those in the crowd. People were standing taller, voices uniting in a torrent of hope. Clara felt the power of that unity coursing through her, the very essence of their shared identity. But as the crowd began to regain confidence, Clara noticed a new flicker of tension arise from the podium. Mr. Colton adjusted his posture, eyes sharp. You think you know what people want? He spat, a tremor in his voice that betrayed his unease. I'll show you who really holds the power. Suddenly, he stepped back and bellowed, I will match your effort with my own. Right here, right now. The crowd fell silent, confused but intrigued. A competition. Colton announced with an almost manic energy. If you can gather enough support in this town by the end of the week, I'll reconsider my plans. But if not, I will take the bakery and break every dream you hold dear. Gasps filled the air. Clara felt the tension wrap around her chest. This was the moment the stakes were raised. There was no turning back. As whispers and uneasy glances swept through the crowd, Clara realized the depth of the challenge laid before them. She turned to Mary, panic and resolve swirling in her chest. What if we can't? What if we fail? Mary gripped her hand tightly. We're not alone, Clara. We can do this together. We'll fight for our dreams, one we. Determination solidified in Clara's heart, igniting a fire she never knew she had. Yes, together. As they began to chant once again, Clara could almost hear the heartbeat of the town rallying with them. But what would they have to do to reach their goal? She couldn't shake the feeling that there were sacrifices lying in wait. As she scanned the faces around her, some filled with hope, others with uncertainty, one question loomed ever larger: could dreams survive the relentless push of reality? Would they discover strength in each other, or would the weight of expectation prove too much? Clara stood at the heart of the crowd, feeling the weight of Mr. Colton's challenge settle heavily on her shoulders. Silence enveloped the gathering, each person processing the enormity of what lay ahead. She glanced around, her chest tightening at the myriad expressions: determination, fear, hope, and doubt tangled together like the branches of an ancient tree. All right, Clara breathed, her voice carrying a tremor but laced with resolve. We can't just depend on feelings. We need to act. She could see Mary nodding beside her, a fierce determination glinting in her eyes. How to rally the town? Time was not on their side. Clara's heart raced as she spoke again. Let us hold a bake sale. Not just any bake sale, a festival. Excitement rippled through the crowd, and she sensed the pulse of inspiration gathering strength. We'll invite everyone. Old friends, neighbors, businesses. The love we put into every cake, every cookie, will show them what this bakery means to us. Sounds great. Someone shouted, and the crowd murmured in agreement, breaths reigniting with newfound energy. Let us have games, music, maybe even a pie-eating contest. Mary suggested, her face lighting up. The idea fell over the crowd like a warm embrace, laughter bursting through the atmosphere. But alongside the joy, Clara felt a shadow of doubt creeping in. We need to advertise it as much as we can. She called out. We can't just hope people will show up. A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd again, and Clara felt hearts beating faster, not just hers, but everyone's. Let us use social media, flyers, word of mouth. We need to create buzz. With each idea that flowed from Clara's lips, she could see the transformation in the energy of the crowd, a palpable shift where spirits were raising and sinking back down, all under the sway of hope and fear. But then a biting thought pierced her optimism. What if we fail? A hollow echo resonated in her mind. She swiped her palm across her forehead, struggling to push those thoughts away. The stakes were too high now. If we can't get enough people, the bakery will close, and we'll let Mr. Colton win. Mary reached out, squeezing her shoulder. We won't let that happen. Think of all the people who love this place. We'll make it memorable. Everyone, bring your best recipes and stories. Clara lifted her arms, rallying the crowd with determination. We want to remember not just the bakery but the moments we've shared here, the laughter, the friendships, the community. A few familiar faces among the crowd leaned in and shared their own ideas, igniting a fervor that seemed to spread like wildfire. Clara felt her heart swell as the crowd united, brainstorming plans, each person contributing their favorite memory or recipe, transforming shared nostalgia into a tangible plan. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly on the details, writing lists, drawing up flyers, and spreading the word. Clara hardly noticed the sun dipping below the horizon as a new resolve solidified. But just as they began to see plans materializing, Clara caught a glimpse of Mr. Colton at the edge of the square, watching their efforts unfold with a smirk. Her heart sank as his gaze met hers, pride mixed with disdain, as if he enjoyed their enthusiasm like an audience at a show. What other traps lay ahead? As they neared the end of their discussion, Clara's throat felt tight. "We have 1 week. Will it be enough?" With uncertainty knitting her brow, she turned to the crowd of determined faces. The question loomed: could they outshine Mr. Colton's underhanded tactics? Would the love for their bakery triumph against the cold hand of capitalism? The air grew thick with anticipation, the festival's fate precariously hanging in the balance. If they lost this battle, would they lose their dreams forever? The sun rose the next morning, the warmth spilling like syrup over the town. Clara woke with a knot in her stomach, the urgency of their mission clenched tightly around her heart. She rushed through breakfast, her mind racing over the plans they had outlined. Would people really come? Would they care enough? At the bakery, the scent of freshly baked bread filled the air, mixing with the sweetness of sugar and chocolate. As Clara entered, Mary was already busy setting up the counter with flyers. "Look at this!" Mary exclaimed, holding up a colorful design, her enthusiasm brightening the room. "I think this will catch people's attention." "Perfect," Clara replied, forcing a smile despite her bubbling anxiety. She grabbed a stack of flyers and pressed them to her chest. "Let's get these up everywhere." They split up, each heading in different directions. As Clara walked the streets, she began posting flyers in shop windows and on telephone poles. With every step, she greeted neighbors and friends, her heart lifting at the sight of familiar faces. "We're having a festival. We'd love for you to come," she called out, her voice growing stronger with every interaction. People responded positively, but the knot in Clara's stomach remained. What if the excitement fizzled out? What if Mr. Colton's influence managed to seep into the hearts of those she was trying to reach? Clara breathed in deeply, reminding herself of the love the bakery had fostered over the years. As the days rolled on, more and more people showed interest. Clara and Mary spent evenings organizing games and music. They set up a pie-eating contest, a bake-off, and live music performances from local talents. Clara even called her friend Lucy, who played the guitar and always brought light wherever she went. "You have to come and play for us. The community needs you," Clara urged. As excitement in the town built, Clara's optimism slowly edged out her fears. During the final preparations, she overheard 2 teenagers discussing the festival passionately. "We can't miss that, it's going to be epic," one of them said, a spark of hope igniting in Clara's chest. But as the festival drew closer, Clara could feel Mr. Colton's shadow bulking at the edges. Every time Clara felt a ray of hope, a thought of his disdainful smirk crept back in. He seemed to relish the challenge, like a predator circling its prey. The week culminated in a flurry of excitement and anxiety. As they set up the backyard with tables decorated in vibrant colors, Clara looked at the community around her. Families, couples, and friends were joining in, all eager to be a part of something special. Just as Clara was about to start arranging baked goods on a long table, a familiar figure stepped forward from the crowd. It was Mrs. Hamilton, the town librarian, with her 2 children in tow. "We've been spreading the word," she said, her voice firm and warm. "Everyone's coming. They want to support our bakery." Clara felt herself swell with pride and gratitude. The community she had fought for was indeed coming together, but she still felt the pressure loom overhead. Would it be enough? Could they truly compete against the ruthless tactics of Mr. Colton? As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the festive preparations, Clara took a deep breath. "This is for us," she murmured to herself, grounding her thoughts. She stepped back, watching people fill the yard, laughter echoing against the walls of the bakery that had been a cornerstone of so many lives. "Together," she whispered, feeling the crowd's energy surge through her veins. But in that moment of empowerment, she spotted Mr. Colton watching from across the street, his smile chilling. What was his next move? The atmosphere crackled with anticipation as Clara wondered if the warmth they created was enough to shield them from the storm that he would undoubtedly unleash. Would hope be enough to face such darkness? And with that thought, her heart raced. The festival day dawned bright and full of promise. Clara stood by the entrance of the bakery, watching as the streets filled with familiar faces, each one wearing a smile that mirrored her own anxious excitement. The air buzzed, thick with the hum of laughter and chatter. For a moment, she forgot about Mr. Colton, lost in the warmth of community. Clara! Let us get this show on the road! Mary shouted, waving her arms like a conductor rallying an orchestra. Clara nodded, her heart racing with a mix of joy and anxiety. She stepped out into the crowd, her fingers tingling as she greeted those streaming in. "Thank you for coming," she said, hugging Mrs. Hamilton tightly before moving on, her spirit lifted by the support surrounding her. Children dashed past with faces painted like superheroes, their giggles rising above the melody of Lucy's guitar strumming nearby. As Clara wandered through the festivities, the games sparkled with excitement. The pie-eating contest had drawn a crowd, and she couldn't help but laugh at the sight of her neighbor, Mr. Thompson, covered in whipped cream, gloating as if he'd just won a gold medal. Who knew this guy had it in him? Someone joked, and the crowd erupted in laughter. Clara felt her worries lighten. Perhaps they could really pull this off, despite the looming threat. Just as the sun reached its peak, she spotted Mr. Colton on the fringes of the gathering, his presence unmistakably menacing. He stood with his arms crossed, a hawk surveying its territory. Clara's breath caught. What was he doing here? Clara! Mary's voice broke her trance, pulling her back to the moment. The bake-off is about to start. You need to judge. Clara wiped her palms on her apron, pushing aside her unease. All right. Let us do it, she said, forcing a grin as she took her place at the long table filled with pies, cakes, and pastries, each one representing the love and labor of the townsfolk. The first contestant approached, a plate of raspberry tart nestled carefully in their hands. As she tasted the first bite, her taste buds danced. Wow! This is amazing! Clara exclaimed, glancing at the hopeful baker's eager eyes. Each dessert brought a burst of sweetness, every flavor telling a story of home, hard work, and heart. Cheers erupted from the crowd as she announced the winners. There was joy wrapped in every hug, every shout of celebration. Just when Clara thought the day could not get any better, she heard a voice rise above the rest. Is this what you want for our town? Mr. Colton's voice dripped with contempt, slicing through the cheerful atmosphere. A bunch of games and pastries while the heart of our community crumbles. Silence fell. Clara felt the color drain from her cheeks, worry clawing at her insides. She glanced at the crowd, faces that had been lit with joy now showed confusion and concern. Let me remind you, Mr. Colton continued, his tone dripping with condescension, I am still the owner of this town's biggest establishment. Do you really think your little festival can compete with my influence? For a moment, Clara was frozen, caught between her mounting anxiety and the throbbing heart of the community that had gathered, united. She looked around and saw people whispering to one another, their expressions shifting, doubt creeping back in. Was he right? Could these moments of joy be overshadowed by his looming presence? The warmth she felt moments before began to chill, sliding into a panic that gripped her like a vice. Then, Clara spotted Lucy, strumming her guitar, an anchor in the tumult. With renewed resolve, Clara stepped forward. This isn't just about competing with you, Mr. Colton, she said, her voice steady, it's about creating something real. Something that reminds us who we are as a community. The crowd began to murmur, voices rising, building momentum. Clara's heart raced. Could they rally together? Was hope still breathing in the shadow of his threat? Feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes on her, Clara took a deep breath, ready to challenge the darkness threatening to dampen their spirits. Would they stand together in defiance of Mr. Colton's looming shadow, or would his doubts snuff out their resolve? As she prepared to speak again, the air felt thick with anticipation, the outcome hanging in the balance. Clara braced herself, praying the answer would reflect the unity she had hoped to create. The tension hung in the air like a tightly drawn bowstring. Clara stood before the townsfolk, her heart pounding, every eye on her as Mr. Colton sneered, confident and unwavering. "You'll see. Dreams mean nothing against power. You're merely delaying the inevitable." But Clara's heart was alive, and the voices of her people surged within her. "What we're building isn't just our dreams, it's our community. And that has value," she countered, her voice rising with a fierce passion. "This festival is not merely a distraction, it's a testament to who we are. We are woven together, history richer than anything you can offer." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and hope began to flicker like flames catching on dry grass. "Do you think a shopping mall will bring happiness?" Clara continued, locking eyes with the townsfolk, underscoring the humanity behind her words. "These friendly faces, the laughter, the love implementing a soul into brick and mortar isn't progress. It's destruction." What she says is true. Mary stepped into the spotlight beside Clara, her voice strong. "This bakery isn't just bread, it's a piece of our identity, our ancestors' gift to us. You want to pave over that for a profit? Not on our watch." The crowd erupted into cheers, voices rising together like a tide, pushing against the heavy weight of doubt. Clara felt invincible. Each cheer fueled her determination, but still, Mr. Colton stood, unyielding, barely shaking. "It's pure nostalgia," he retorted, though Clara sensed uncertainty in his gaze now. "People will move on. They'll tire of backwater towns. And investors won't wait around for an emotional placation." Clara took a step forward, grounding herself. "Then let us show our worth. A united front. We'll not just hold this festival, we'll make it an annual event to remind us of the beauty in what we build together. Our community deserves a voice." As she spoke, the townsfolk responded with spontaneous fervor, chanting her name, "Clara! Clara!" Each shout pushed back the shadows of fear, swirling in ecstatic energy. "Everyone can see and feel what matters, Mr. Colton," Clara continued, her conviction soaring. "Together, we represent this town's spirit. Your money might buy power, but it can never buy the heart and courage of our community." The crowd felt electric, families clustering closer, arms wrapping around one another. Clara could hear the whispers of excitement picking up, neighbors urging each other to join in, to support, to stand united. "Let us take our joy to the next level," she shouted, embracing the continued energy weaving through her community. "We'll bake more bread, share more laughs, and welcome those who've left to come home. The fires of this bakery will burn strong. Together, we're unstoppable." A voice erupted from the back, and cheers cascaded like waves crashing against rocks, their power palpable. "Don't you see, Mr. Colton?" Clara shouted, stepping toward him with confidence. "If you want to crush our spirits, you'll have to do it first to everyone here." Pointing to the jubilant townsfolk, she declared, "And this heart that we build together will not let you." For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed Mr. Colton's face, uncertainty creeping into his demeanor. Clara felt the community tighten around her, emboldened and alive, ready to stand together against the tide of adversity. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, Clara spotted Mrs. Thompson joining hands with other elderly residents. They raised their voices, rich and unwavering, "We are the heart of this town. We'll not succumb to greed." That could be the rallying call. Clara turned back to the crowd, meeting their eager eyes. "Let us show him what we're made of. This festival is not just a battle, it's a movement. We are the pulse of this town, rooted deeply in history, love, and resilience." In that instant, The weight of their shared spirit ignited a fire they had never experienced before, their collective resolve burning like a beacon of hope. They turned to face Mr. Colton, unified in their purpose, an indomitable force no longer just a collection of individuals, but one heart beating as one. Staring him down, Clara felt empowered, the uncertainty melting away as a powerful truth took root. And if you want to fight us, we won't go quietly. You will never extinguish our spirit. We will remind you who we are. As the joyous noise filled the air like a song, Clara's heart surged with pride, knowing she had kept the spirit of her family and community alive. She watched as Mr. Colton's mask of confidence cracked further, his brow furrowing in disbelief, as his hold on the hearts of the people began to slip away. With one final, defiant shout, the townsfolk surged forward together, their voices harmonizing with Clara's. For our legacy. For our future. In that moment, Clara realized they had already won together. They became more than a town, they became a family intricately woven with history and love, willing to fight for both. And that was something everyone could appreciate. As they moved forward, the love and strength radiated through them, promising to endure the storms ahead. And while Mr. Colton might threaten their bakery, he would soon learn that the bonds they shared could never be severed. This was their legacy, the fight to protect what truly mattered. And as laughter filled the air, Clara knew they had awakened something in themselves that would keep them together, standing strong, no matter what challenges lay ahead. This was just the beginning. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories filled with passion. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us know you want more heartwarming tales. Comment down below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. What will you take away from their perseverance? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the hope. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions, so let's rally together.